Good morning. It's a let's talk about it. Yo, let's talk about it. I don't want to talk about the Giants losing yesterday. That ain't no surprise. Everybody knew the Giants were losing yesterday. As a matter of fact, the Giants came and played a hard game. They gave you the best they possibly can. Unfortunately, the best they possibly can is going to be a competitive loss. That's what you got. This is what I want to talk about, man. Let's get down to the future already, right? Because that's what we're all looking forward to. Unfortunately, the draft is like our playoffs. It's been like that for years. But yo, I'm not going to get negative. I want to throw out a scenario. The Giants end up with the first or second pick in the draft. We all know that the Giants and Joe Schoen are all over Shedeur Sanders right now. Like practically living in Colorado. Is a quarterback going to take the Giants out of this darkness? No, I don't think so. Because we got to still build more of the roster. So I throw a scenario. I know everybody wants to get the quarterback. That's the sexy pick. But guess what? With that quarterback, and I understand the quarterback is the most important position on the team, and we haven't had it in years. It only fills one spot. That's my problem. You want to build a team? You take the top pick in the draft. You trade back. You get 2 1s. You get 2 2s. Maybe you get a 1 or a 3 in next year's draft. You load up a boatload, right? The one opportunity in a lifetime that the Giants have to load up. And you go out and you draft talent. You build this roster. The tackle from LSU. The running back from Boise State. Imagine him and Tracy together. A cornerback, a real physical, nasty linebacker. Go find one. And you could still draft a Nussmeier or a Dart who's been working one-on-one with Eli Manning, so there's a connection to the Giants with the kid out of Ole Miss already. Just saying, you could get them in the late first, maybe early second. Whatever you got to do. You got plenty of picks to maneuver. Yeah, I know, it ain't Sanders or Ward. Let me tell you something. I'm not high on Ward. I've been watching. I do not like Ward's style, and I don't ever think it's ever going to fit for the Giants. And once again, people do not connect the certain type of quarterback and their style to what organization they're going and what type of system is going to be ran. That is the biggest key to success or failure of a quarterback. Brothers, trade back. Get a boatload. Load this roster up with talent. Are we going to be in the Super Bowl next year? No. This is going to take a couple of years. You know, we're looking at a 3, 4, 5 year buildup. So you're going to have patience. But as long as you're seeing results and the young kids are growing and the team's getting better and better each year, and we not stay this dumpster fire that we've been in, it's embarrassing. That's how you get the train moving north, as I always say. Dude, Amani Toomer's and Michael Strahans were on the Giants for over a decade before they started really winning and got towards their Super Bowls. This is the type of stuff that you got to do. Stability. We've gotten away from that. Stability, development, the growth of young kids into men, patience. But you got to stick with the core together. You can't keep changing pieces every year. I'm not giving up on Hyatt. He's young. Develop him. I'm not giving up on the center. He's young. You got to develop him. And when the O-line suffers injuries, the whole chain is broken. You lose Andrew Thomas. You start moving people around. Right. You got to draft depth. That's why I wouldn't mind. I would love to have the LSU tackle. You know, I'm not giving up on Banks. I think he's a really good corner. They've lost themselves. I'm not in love with this defensive coordinator. But development, teaching kids to play football in the NFL is not the same as teaching kids to play football in high school and college. It's a different game. You got to teach them. You got to give them 3, 4 years to develop. You can't just quit on kids after 2 years. Oh, Banks is horrible this year. Get rid of him. No, man. Bro, you keep doing that, we're going to keep winning being a 3-win team for the rest of our lives. You got to let kids grow and learn from their mistakes. That's the only way they get better. You keep Hyatt around. You keep Banks around. You keep the center. Find a role for Wan'Dale Robinson. Get him a little more involved in these quick passes. I understand. This year's out the window. I don't even need to see anything. Yo, I like Johnson. We have ourselves a good tight end. You like Tracy. You got to build this roster. You don't have to spend the first pick on sexy name quarterback like Sanders. I understand. I think he's a really good quarterback. I do. But you got to weigh the option. How far is the drop-off from Sanders to a Nussmeier? If you're going to get 3 or 4 more talented contributors for the next 5, 10 years, whatever it is, young kids on this team to build the roster, especially the O-line, you got to keep building the O-line. You have to. And we have a need for another corner, right? Because Banks really a number 2. You could still develop him. I think Banks is still going to be a good number 2. You got to get a number 1. And this kid Newman is going to be nasty at safety. So what do you want to do? You want to draft another strong defensive tackle so we can start building on stopping the run. And I think we need a nasty linebacker. And when I say nasty linebacker, I'm talking about one of these animal, dog type of linebackers that brings attitude, brings voice, leadership, and will not allow any player on defense to slack around him. He's only going to raise everybody's level of play because they fear him. You need a linebacker that your defense players love and fear, and that the opposite team fears and is intimidated by. We got to get that LB. McFadden is good. Okereke, we know when things are being played up, he's a good linebacker. But you need that number 1 linebacker. Neither of those guys to me is a number 1. They're very good. We need that young leader. Go find me a beast out of some college that comes out of the tough streets of America. Like we used to years ago. So I just raised a scenario. I know a lot of people are not going to take to that because everybody's so desperate for a quarterback. Yo, desperation only leads to more desperation. You know what I'm saying? You watch the Browns draft quarterback after quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Then they spend $500 million on Watson. Where's it gotten them? You watch the Jets draft quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and then they spend the bank on Rodgers. What has it gotten them? Desperation. Desperation. But what did the Lions do? The Lions go and build an entire young roster with a lot of talented players. And then they trade for a quarterback. Let's be honest, he's not a world breaker. He's not the best quarterback in the league. He's a solid quarterback. He can manage a football game. And when you got weapons around him that can make things happen with the ball in their hands, that's all you need, brothers. That's all you need. It don't got to be Joe Montana. It don't got to be Peyton Manning. Build this roster like the Lions did. A little more Giants way, though, because you play outdoors in the Northeast, so you got to build according to that. Let's get another power back in here. Let's add to this O-line. Find another receiver to go along with Wan'Dale, Robinson, Hyatt. You know, Slayton's here. I don't think he's going to be here. I think the Giants can move on from Slayton. Get another young, talented wide receiver in the third round. Like I said, trade back and get a bag load of picks, bro. And let's build this team up and start to get excited. You don't got to take the quarterback in the first pick in the draft or second pick. You could be really smart. Be a smart GM. Build up a roster over these next 2 drafts by trading back and getting a boatload of picks. You could end up with 2 1s in 26th draft on a trade back. And you take one of these QBs in the back end of the first round or early second round, right? And then next year you got 2 1s to go up if you wanted to. It's just an option to go after Archie Manning if he's there, or whatever quarterback is going to be big time coming into the 26th draft. Now you got yourself 2 young, talented quarterbacks. Hey? From 0 to 2, hey? This is how you build it up. People want competition. You got to start thinking smarter than just one sexy name that's going to make you happy. And when the season comes, what are we going to get out of that? 1 or 2 more extra wins? And you got to stick with your kids. You can't keep changing kids every 2 years because you're unhappy with their play. Guys like Hyatt, Banks, right? Schmitz, you can't get rid of these guys. You got to stick to this. Let the kids play. Now, Joe Schoen, his draft is doing pretty damn well this year. And you're seeing the development. You're starting to see it. And that's what I'm looking for the next 5 weeks. Johnson, Tracy, I'm looking for the kids, Hyatt. We're talking mainly offense. I think the defense, it needs some work. I don't like the defensive coordinator. I'm going to let the defense go because a lot of defenses really play top-level football based on emotion. And there's no emotion in these games. It's literally dead. There's no energy because there's nothing to play for anymore. And there's a degree of tank going on in here also. Let's not be naive about it. Just wanted to come on, give us another option besides everybody screaming about Sanders and Ward. Think about the possibility in a small trade back. How many picks you could get back to build a football team. Now, we're not going to have this opportunity again. Let's be honest. The Giants have never picked first in the NFL history in the draft. If they did pick first or even second, right? It's an opportunity to do big things, to get a lot for that. I have a feeling Joe Schoen's going to be back. He's building a team, and I think that Mara's committed to him. I think he committed to these guys 5 years, and he owes them their back end of the commitment now. I believe they honored trying to work Jones because Mara wanted them to, and he made them a promise that they get their guy if it doesn't work, and now it's their turn. I don't know what's going to happen with Dable, but he looks very calm lately on the sidelines and at the press conferences after the games. And that calmness tells me that there might be an agreement that we don't know about. There's big name coaches. The Giants got to look into that. Mara really has to look into that. I'm pretty sure Tish is going to get in his ear. But I get the feeling that if the Giants play in these games hard and lose, Dable's going to be back. It's just a feeling I get. What I love of Vrabel? Hell yeah. Everyone knows I've been banging on the pot for Belichick for like years. You're never going to get closer than now, even though Jacksonville is all over him right now. I just get this feeling these guys are going to be back to continue to build what they're doing. And unlike most, I don't think that would be a devastating choice. We'll see what happens. This was a Miz talk about it.